What do you tell yourself when you're losing or when things are going wrong? Are you telling yourself that it's over? Are you ruminating over the mistakes you've done? Are you able to remain centered in your game? Today, we'll discuss self-talk and all the chatter going on in your head during matches. The way you speak to yourself, especially when things are not going your way, speaks volume about your character and attitude. And as the proverb goes, your attitude determines your altitude. Being able to find the right words at the right time will greatly increase the chances of winning against the odds and can very often turn games around. Sadly, the little dictator in our head really likes to remind us how bad we are and how things are hopeless. So the first step to fixing this negative self-talk that really worsens your play is to acknowledge that it's there. Be mindful of it. What words are you telling yourself? Be precise. Man, I'm playing so bad today. God, this guy's just lucky as hell. Dude, I keep getting blind countered today. Add some swearing on top of that and you've got the perfect recipe. We sometimes have the tendency to speak to ourselves in a way we'd never dare to talk to a friend. If your friend wouldn't deserve it, you probably don't deserve the harsh talkers either. But what if you're indeed playing like a clown? Well, these things happen, and paradoxically, making peace with it will make you play much better. But how come that accepting that you're playing bad can possibly make you play better? Sounds a little counterintuitive, doesn't it? There are days where you're simply not as sharp as usual. Perhaps you're a little bit slower. Maybe you had a long day at work and you're just not as focused. It is what it is. Now, if you refuse to accept it, you'll just ruminate over the mistakes you've made and thus consume even more mental bandwidth. All that mental energy to shit-talk yourself won't help you very much, to say the least. Embracing the fact that today's performance is not as good as what you're accustomed to is freeing in the sense that there's nothing you can do about it, except do your best with what you've got today. This is a concept that former tennis coach François Ducasse calls being good at playing bad. It basically means maximizing your potential on bad days. Today suck, but you know what? I'm still gonna give it my all anyway, because I know that it's still the best strategy to perform and have fun today. Refusing that today's skills are a bit lower than usual would just add to the frustration and reduce your skills even further. I clearly remember Neeb disappointed after a match, telling me how bad he played. And watching his perspective, I could only agree with him. He indeed played below his real level, but still, he was able to stay professional, make the best out of the situation, and get the job done. It's easy to be happy and joyful when everything goes according to plan, but how are you going to behave when the shit hits the fan? It's during the storm that you get to know the pilot, right? StarCraft 2 is a great game to improve as a person overall. It's a great tool to strengthen your character and challenge yourself in many ways. How you behave when you play difficult games is a great predictor of how far you can go in my experience. Easier said than done, of course, and I've been very good at not following my own advice, quite frankly, but we always gotta come back on track and have the intent of bringing the best out of us. And if improving is your goal, I'm happy to remind you guys that I've recently made a website actually where you can join our community or book a session with me. I'll be uploading some guides there in the future as well, so make sure to check it out. The link is down there in the description. So once you've noticed the parasitic self-talk, how do you actually get rid of it and replace it? I've seen players do the exact opposite and try to brainwash themselves with unrealistic, hyper-positive stuff. I'm the greatest, I'm the best, I'll destroy him, and so on. The problem is that this kind of stuff only works when you actually believe it. What matters is what you truly believe in deep inside. And if you repeat yourself, I'm the greatest, but really you feel like a loser, you'll just find yourself feeling a little bit pathetic. Players like MC or athletes such as Novak Djokovic or Cristiano Ronaldo sometimes appear pretty cocky to certain people, but they really mean what they say and truly believe in their abilities. On the flip side, we've seen players show off and appear arrogant on stage before their matches, but you could really feel in their demeanor that they were very fragile on the inside. So it's not so much about what you say out loud, but where your faith lies on the other hand. So if you're a bit in a self-confidence debt, this strategy won't work at all. What does work, on the other hand, is telling yourself things you actually believe in, and that helps move you forward. Think about the next move you want to make in the game. For example, I'm going to chrono boost my adept, queue my stargate, and so on. This can help you stay fully focused on the task at hand while keeping the annoying chatter at bay. You might not believe you're amazing right now, for sure, but you can perhaps believe that today you can get 1% better than yesterday. That doesn't seem like much, but it's effective in the long run and certainly better than playing 15% worse. It can be a value you have, a character trait, anything that works for you. Ask yourself, what would your ideal self or your mentor behave in such a situation? How would Jaedong, Cyril, or whoever act in such a situation? Would he give up like a coward? Find something that makes sense to you and that works on your very own personality. I know the leverages that work for me. Go ahead and find your own. Funnily enough, we sometimes watch games of a player we cheer for and talk to them through our monitor. Come on, hero, you've got this, man. We've all done it. So why not talk to yourself this way? Well, I'm not Hero, you might say. That's true, but Hero never would have become who he is today had he bathed in a never-ending sea of diminishing talk. Be your own little coach in your head. I'd often have the voice of my best friend in my head telling me, "Did you travel all the way to Canada to play like a fucking baboon? Is that the Adrian that I know?" And that shit would motivate me like you have no idea. Sure, it's a bit ego-driven, but it doesn't matter. The fuel you use doesn't matter as long as you're moving forward. Billions of years of evolution to give up against a cannon rush? Is that really you're all capable of? We're always being brainwashed all day by media, music, our surroundings, and so on. The least we can do is regain some control and brainwash ourselves with things that are actually helpful. And at last but not least, I'd like to talk about the you versus you aspect of things. Because there are two matches in one. The match against your opponent and the match against yourself. And more often than not, the one against yourself is the harder one to win. And if you want to beat the opponent, you need to beat yourself first. And sometimes you will lose a game and afterwards you don't really feel like the other player has played that much better than you, but rather that you messed up. Which is a good news, because it means your fate is in your own hands. We often say that we are our worst enemy, but if we're able to find the right words, we could flip that and become our best friend. Something that I've used and I personally found very helpful was to talk to myself as if someone I deeply respected was coaching me in my head. I would hear his voice and use his way of talking to motivate me. Of course, it's not real per se, but technically all the harsh words we throw at ourselves are not any truer. I'm very consequentialist in that regard, and if your goal is to win a tournament, get a promotion, or even run a marathon, whatever it is, there's nothing wrong with using every tool at your disposal to make sure it gets done. So what is your experience with self-talk? I'd love to hear from you. Until then, have a good one.